Welcome to Peaceful Power Project. Peaceful Power Project is a podcast dedicated to mental, physical, emotional, and mental health and well-being. I am so excited to have Lauren Webb with us today. Lauren Webb is a mindset coach. Lauren Webb is She Can Consulting, which I am super excited to learn more about. Lauren is an intuitive human who I met. I'll do our meeting story. Who I met. We were both taking a business mentorship course together, and I I went through a lot, but it was one of the very first me raising my hand to ask a question. I was so nervous, and somehow, maybe there were like 20 or 30 little boxes on the Zoom. Somehow Lauren saw in my face what I was experiencing before, during, and after my question and processing experience. So feeling, oh, and this will tie in very well to our conversation point later, but feeling very unsettled as I logged off. Just from my personal experience, anyone who's gone through a mentorship program just know, or you know, it's a big journey. But I was just kind of alone in this unsettled, and almost instantly I received a DM. You okay? I don't know exactly what it was. It was probably more eloquent, but or maybe it was just like, "Are you okay?" Which was eloquent in simply that asking and simply reaching out. So I'm forever grateful for that connection, because in that moment, I did not feel alone. I felt supported. I felt like we were on this journey together, and it was like an instant friendship. So I am very grateful that you are here today. And this is the time that I am going to read your bio. Now, this is multifold. Number one, it is to introduce you to the listener who doesn't know who you are. But I would like for you to sit back, and I'll do my best to read it well with the punctuations and everything. But is to take in this bio, these words that you have selected and carefully chosen, as something that is a biography of sorts, and just take it in and hear who you are, the words you've chosen to present as you. So, oh, I love this. Lauren, a change catalyst and mindset coach who understands the profound impact of transformation firsthand. After a car accident in 2017 abruptly shifted the course of her life, she embarked on a path of personal healing and professional growth. In that process, she completed a Master's of Global Business that took her across 4 continents, where she discovered her true calling: to be the coach and mentor that she never had. While completing her thesis in 2019, Lauren launched She Can Consulting and never looked back. Life's unexpected twists and turns have not only shaped Lauren's journey, but have also fueled her unwavering commitment to helping others realize their true potential and embrace change with courage. As a mindset coach, Lauren's mission extends beyond individual and group coaching. As a mastermind facilitator, she curates diverse yet like-minded groups of individuals. These gatherings foster a sense of community, providing a safe space built on trust and mutual support. Here, participants come together to explore a wide range of personal and professional topics, all with the shared goal of personal and professional development, with a profound emphasis on cultivating a growth mindset and a relentless commitment to helping others become the best version of themselves. Lauren is a beacon of inspiration for anyone ready to embrace change and unlock their full potential. How did that feel to hear? Now I'm like, but now what's the whole story? What are the twists and turns? How did it feel to hear someone read your bio?
Yeah, it's so funny. I think years ago it probably would have made me cringe or like shrink or get small, but Yeah, it feels good. It's been a long journey, and I've enjoyed majority of it.
Yeah, no, I love that you chose to include like your actual bio. So a lot of bios, now I'm gonna have to like look at mine, but a lot of them are I do this, and this. And you happen to weave in your education, which is really like cool. And you know, you did the traditional, but you also actually told this in a few sentences the story of what brought you to the seat that you are sitting in now, as a mindset coach. So with that, I'd like to ask first what a mindset coach is. Even before we pushed record, I was like, she a life coach, mindset coach, and now there's what, a sheet of like 100 different coaches you could be. But why did you land on mindset coach?
That's a really great question. When I first started out, She Can Consulting launched as a consulting business. So I was working with businesses, helping them consult with their operations and things like that. And then over time, and well, I was actually COVID that hit, and I decided to totally transfer just into coaching. And I worked a lot with entrepreneurs first and foremost. So I was kind of self identifying as a business coach because a lot of the conversation was around business. But over time, what I've learned in all of my hours of coaching is that regardless of whether you're seeking a life coach, a business coach, a health coach, ultimately at the foundation of how I approach coaching is through mindset, managing people's mindsets, helping them shift perspectives to old problems that are no longer serving them. So it's really about your mindset, and everything comes back to that. What you think is what you believe, it's what you create in your life, it's how you show up. And so regardless of whether you're coming to me because there's always three things: time, money, or more fulfillment. Usually people come to me for, and every single one of those things can be achieved through a shift in your mindset.
Oh, I love it. I can hear my listeners right now saying, how do I how do I have more time, fulfillment, money now? When you're so you meet, I heard in the bio that you meet with clients individually and that you are developing a mastermind, but I'm going to, I don't know the word, but set aside sharing about the mastermind because it's something I want to explore and unpack, especially with that, the potency of like community and connection. But when you are working with someone one-on-one, because I did hear the listeners, because I am a listener, when you first sit down with someone, where do you start with the mind in relationship to, you know, the top three that ultimately come down to how your mind is presently thinking of something?
The first thing that I do in any coaching call, if I'm onboarding a client, I always start with an intake form. And my intake form has some very thoughtful and reflective questions on it that sort of help my client really niche down on what it is they're trying or hoping to achieve out of their work with me. So, whether it's personal or professional development, these questions kind of give me a really great idea of where it is that they're wanting to go and what might be preventing them from getting there, what obstacles are showing up, what negative thought loops are showing up. And then that gives me kind of a blueprint of how to approach the session in terms of what are the things that we need to tackle to help shift that mindset to be more self-serving and to get you the result that it is that you're looking for.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, and clarity first, right? And not just sharing with you so that you're clear, but also, do you ever find that people are not even clear why they've reached out to you in the first place?
Yeah, oh, totally. Or they'll reach out, they'll have like a feeling that they need help or they're feeling stuck. But yeah, there lots of times people come to me and they think they know what they need and what's preventing them from moving forward. And then through discussion and conversation, that's where those aha moments come from, where they're like, oh, So that's actually what's preventing me from moving forward. It's kind of like unveiling, some things that maybe they didn't initially see or they just misinterpreted.
And when you say that, or when I read in your bio that you seek to be or strive to be the coach that you wish you had, could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. Growing up, I was a people pleaser. And that was really ingrained in me from a young age. And I would always be performing and producing. And I always was very ambitious. And so, on my pursuit of whatever goal, whether it was a bachelor's degree or a promotion or whatever I was striving towards, I always found that I had really great support. But it was always from men. Like, there was always men mentors in my life. And I never felt like I really had any women in my life that could also guide me, who were in these leadership roles or that I had access to. And so, while I really appreciate all the mentorship I got from all those like male leaders, at some point when you reach a certain age, there's just some things you don't get as a man that you just don't understand. It's like we are talking earlier, right? When you're a parent, there's some things that people who don't have kids just don't quite understand it. They can't grasp it just simply because they haven't experienced it. And for myself, that's what really kind of motivated me and what kind of inspired the name as well with my business of She Can Consulting, is because I really wanted to be the coach and mentor that I wish as a young girl specifically I had growing up, without discounting any of the value that the male leaders and mentors provided me.
Right, but that extra level of, there are just things, and we can just even energetically that, and even to have again that connection. That said, I will ask the question, do you mindset coach only women?
No, and that is a question I get a lot because of the name of my business, She Can Consulting. But I love men. I love working with men. Men and I actually usually work really great together because I do have a lot of masculine energy. I'm very direct in my coaching. And so no, I have male clients. I love working with men and women. I think just when I first launched my business, I was wanting to focus my time and support women more, so make that a priority as opposed to any kind of discrimination.
And you did just say the word business, and we did meet in like a business growth environment. How did you told the story of shifting from consulting into coaching. Of She Can was the consulting firm, so that business already existed, but it morphed into more of an individualized approach where you're supporting people through more of their personal and professional. So how has that grown or developed, and where are you at now with your business?
Yeah, so that all kind of shifted because of COVID. So March 2020, COVID hit, lockdown was happening, and I lost all of my contracts because I was primarily going into restaurants. I had a few other clients as well, but I have a lot of restaurant experience. So I was consulting for some restaurants and I lost all my contracts. I couldn't go into the restaurant anymore because everything shut down. And I had a life coach at the time, and I kind of asked her, like, what do I do? I was only just into my business a couple of years, and she just said, pivot. Like, you have the choice. You have always wanted to coach. Now's the time. You can choose to pivot or you can choose to go back to corporate. And so I chose to pivot. And from that conversation on, I just started reaching out to people saying, I want to coach you. I was identifying as a life coach at that time. And really just, it was a sink or swim situation. And for me, it was a swim because I've never looked back, and I'm a way better coach than I ever was a consultant. And I just know it's where I'm meant to be. Just felt right. There was alignment there.
I love it. I was going to ask, like, how did you like find your first few people to to today. And then you said, you just reached out, you're like, can I coach you?
Yeah.
And there you go. I love the, so if you don't follow Lauren on Instagram right now, you really should, because that's something else that struck me after our first little like DM encounter, was your storytelling abilities on your social media. And you come with these themes that always hit home in like under 90 seconds. I don't know how you do it. I'm trying to remember the first story, because I know I reached out to you and I was like, how did you tell that story so perfectly? It made such an impact, but it made an impact in my heart, if not my memory. But you speak of things such as confidence, right? And perfectionism. And so definitely follow Lauren if you don't. Does what you share about, is it influenced by your like a life of the mindset coach? Is it inspired by things that come up with your clients, things that come up personally for you?
Well, thank you I'm glad that you are
Love
enjoying
it.
this. It's funny, I joke with my first life coach I ever had. She said to me, she loves to talk, and so she made a career around being able to get paid to talk. And I was like, well, I really resonate with that, because I do love to talk. So in terms of getting these out in 90 seconds, it is hard for me. I always have to like, okay, Lauren, be succinct, tap back into your business mind, and get this out as succinctly as you possibly can. But inspiration comes from everywhere. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of everything. Sometimes I speak about things that I'm personally going through. Usually it'll be something that I already feel I've kind of moved out of and I'm not still sitting in, and I have better perspective on it. Other times it's just conversations that come up with friends, with family, so maybe something I read or even see on Instagram, where I'll see somebody speaking to something. I'm like, oh, I have a different perspective on that. I should post about it. So a lot of my inspiration honestly just comes from my surroundings. Is it whether a conversation or something I've seen or something I've consumed? And I just make a list on my phone, honestly, of different things that I'm passionate about. And then when I'm in the mood to get on social media, I'll go to that list and choose what feels right in the moment.
Yeah, you can tell that it's not forced or like not exhausting and draining. Like if I like when I was trying to come with like drop wisdom all the time, it's so effortless. So I just recommend everyone. I actually started like a whole new page just so I didn't have to see anything I didn't want to see. And I love to see you. It always like gets my mind going, and it's always really provocative and helpful. So I appreciate that.
Oh,
It's just one way. And again, now I feel like we can transition into like human like connection,
mm,
because just as I do feel inspired and connected when I'm, scrolling and see something that's powerful or impactful that hits me, it still leaves this sense of uh, like lack of direct connection. So, and especially as someone who is working on her own personal growth and development, always working towards that 1% better. My life intention, I have like sub intentions, but my main intention is presence. I do not want to miss a minute, and I'm very susceptible to missing a minute um by having too many things that I'm juggling at once that I can't be there. So presence is my focus, my intention. But with that, sometimes I'm very alone on my rock or doing my stretches or out on my long runs. And it's a very solo experience, which is soul filling as well. But can you speak to some disconnect that we have when we're always trying to do this like personal growth and self-development, and your ideas around that?
my gosh, yeah. I wish this was something that someone had kind of like warned me about before deep diving into personal development and healing and growing. is that it can be a lonely road. You definitely will. It's almost inevitable if you're really truly doing the work that you will feel disconnected at times, and that you will feel as though you've outgrown friendships. That's something I didn't really anticipate and felt in a really big way. And it's a big conversation that my friends are having. It's a conversation that a lot of my clients are having, is like, what do we do? Like, I don't feel like I'm connected to these people anymore. And just to make it like blanket statement, it's not a matter of I'm better than them. That, like, to be so clear, not everyone is meant to do this work. And just because you might be doing this work doesn't make you any better than anybody else. It's not meant for everyone. But there definitely does become a gap between who you once were and where you're going or who you are. And inevitably, the people who you attract are attracted to the vibration that you're putting out. And so when your vibration changes, so do the people that you're attracting and the people that you are wanting to spend time with.
I love that. And I love how you put it, not that you're like better or even necessarily different, because everyone's changing, right? They're changing, we grow without trying. But your direction and intention is taking you into a different place. And one of my struggles is that I spend so much time, like, really, I need my alone time and I need my family time. And then there's this time that's taken up by job. And so time and space. And then again, finding people who are also seeking. So where are these other seekers? And how do you find them? It does sound like you're talking to different friends, or you're having these conversations with your clients. How do you speak to a listener who's like, well, where are these people that you speak of that are on this journey of self-development and personal growth?
This brings me back, actually, to my very first mastermind that I ever launched. So I am a bit of a chameleon when it comes to friend groups. I don't just have one friend group that I was like born and raised with and sticking with. And because I think I've traveled lots and gone places, I have many different friend groups. And within those friend groups, I have a lot of really amazing, and in this case, women who were all coming to me being like, man, I wish I had other female friends like you. And I felt very similar, like, oh, I wish I had like a group of friends that I could speak to that were like-minded. And so many different women were coming to me with the exact same feedback. And I thought, well, you're the one that's connected to all these women. So why don't you just create a space and a capsule to bring them all together? And that's actually how my first mastermind was launched, is I just reached out to everybody and I said, you're super cool. These are the things you like. I have other friends that are super cool and love these things too. I want to bring us all together on a monthly basis. Do you want in? And that's kind of how it all started. And that's where I seek these relationships now, is really like staying in touch with people that you meet in mentorship programs or business programs or capsules of different sorts, because they are your people. They do understand, your perspective of things, and they enjoy the same things you do.
I love it. I love how organic your first experience was born, and it was noted in your bio, how you are indeed a catalyst, how you were the person who was like, wait, I can be a connector and I can be a starter for this. What is a mastermind? The word just popped in there. Where does it turn from like a bunch of friends meeting on a Zoom happy hour to being a mastermind?
That's a good question. So the way masterminds can look different, right? It really depends on the group, the purpose, what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I mean, you really could call, if you wanted to, a group of friends coming together for happy hour or mastermind, depending on what it is you're talking about. Because all a mastermind is literally a group of people coming together to share information. like in its simplest form, that's what a mastermind is. The way that I structure my masterminds is a little different. I do have a bit of a coaching structure with it. So I facilitate a conversation, whether it is a business mastermind. So I've done business ones that are very focused on let's all share what we're doing in terms of our marketing strategies. What accounting softwares are you using? You know, what are your social media techniques? Things like that. But then I've also had personal masterminds where the discussion is surrounded around you know, gosh, we've talked about everything. Confidence, body dysmorphia, ask how to ask for a raise at work, carrying the mental load, like you name it, we've discussed it. And what's really important for She Can Masterminds is that everyone signs a non-disclosure agreement, because it's so important that these spaces are safe, because the conversation gets and can get super vulnerable at times.
And you said it's a monthly connection experience. How, like, what does that container look like? Is it a few hours monthly for 6 months? Is it, and in terms of the container as well, how many women are coming together to experience this, getting to have an anonymous, or not anonymous, but a space where everything stays, what happens in She Can Mastermind stays in She Can Mastermind. What does the container look like in terms of like logistics?
The ones, and this goes back to something that you know about me, about loving to work in smaller containers and keeping things intimate as opposed to going wide to the masses, is I love human connection on a really authentic level. So masterminds, again, they can look however you want. You can meet once a week, once a month, once a year, like you get to decide. There are no rules. But for myself, the way I've structured them in the past has been a 2-hour Zoom call monthly. I've even done some where I offer one-on-one coaching within the month as well for each client. And I like to keep my group small. I like to have, 5 people so that everyone gets an opportunity to share. They get an opportunity to provide feedback. There's time for them to sit back and really just be present and listen. I really like to encourage people to speak up. So sometimes I'll call on someone to ask their opinion because maybe I can see something within them, a juicy nugget or value they have to provide that they might not know they have, or feel it's as valuable as it may be for the group to hear. So there is no one way of doing it, but the way I've enjoyed doing them is keeping them relatively intimate. I think I can provide more value to my clients that way as well. It's just a personal preference though.
No, well, I love that as well. And is this like an application? Is it curated, or obviously it's a small group? So
Yeah,
how do you connect the, you still reach out and connect the people that need to be together?
Yeah, I have a list of people. Like I will forever have a sales funnel going. I mean, that's just the reality of being an entrepreneur. I have a sales funnel, and a lot of the times it's me just either seeing somebody on Instagram and thinking, oh my gosh, you would be such a great fit for this. I take kind of everybody in on a wait list, and then depending on how well I know them, I can go through the list and I pick people, I handpick them to bring them together. And a lot of the feedback from my clients in the past has been that this is one of my superpowers, is my ability to bring in the right people to make the group succinct and safe and a feel good place. You have to have a combination. If everybody was as chatty as me, we'd all be talking over each other for 2 hours. So you really do have to, I like to curate my groups. And if that means I have to launch more groups so that everyone's involved, if I think that they would be a good candidate, then I will.
And how long are they meeting for?
In mine for 2 hours.
No, like forever.
Oh, how long do they last?
Yeah. Yes.
6-month ones, and I've done annual ones, so 12 months and 6 months. I really like the 6-month containers. I think that that's a really great amount of time, and it's something to look forward to every month, to be able to sit and connect. And it's funny because sometimes you just don't even feel like showing up. My clients will be like, oh, I had such a long day at work, or I don't feel like being here. Like, we're very honest when we first do our check-ins. But by the end of it, you're so inspired, you're so empowered. And I think that this is a huge opportunity for men. I want to launch some male masterminds as well. I think there's a lot of value in creating safe spaces for men to come together and maybe be more vulnerable or have discussions they wouldn't normally be having. And that's simply because I've seen how powerful and impactful it is for women.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. And before we get into like your specific offerings, or if you have some in mind that are planned, maybe more business or personal related, what would you say to a listener who I heard you mention a couple of times? Well, it doesn't have to look this way exactly, but someone who is out there craving connection. And the more I listen to you, as opposed to it just being like, this is a person I can relate to because of X, Y, and Z, you're on a similar journey together, right? That's why entrepreneurs trying to get their businesses like thriving, we all have, regardless of where we come from, we all have those similar setbacks and challenges and frustrations and successes and things we want to share and celebrate. And so I hear it more now as I just need another like mom or just another yoga instructor, a business owner. It's really the experience, like the shared experience rather than like the shared bio. So I really love that. But if a listener is like, this sounds like something that I'm missing, how do you what would you suggest for growing community and connection?
There's a few things here because one, if you're feeling like you are in need of, or you're seeking, or you desire stronger friendships or stronger connections, then the first thing I would recommend doing is being really honest with yourself about the capacity you have. You know, who are you currently holding space for? And are those connections fulfilling your desires or your what you seek out of a friendship? Which will look differently for everyone. But if you're surrounding yourself with lots of people and no one's really filling your cup, sometimes what's required is that we create space for, what I call soul friendships to come in. Because if I am so busy maintaining these friendships that aren't really actually feeling super great for me, which I think a lot of us do out of fear of either like not knowing how to end them, not really having a reason why, right? It's like sometimes people are so unhappy in their romantic relationships, but they're like, oh, if they just cheated on me, I'd leave. Like, there needs to be this reason. And I think a really good reminder is like, you don't need a reason. The feeling is enough, and just honor that feeling. And when you create space and let go of other people, that's when the universe will bring you your soul friendships, because you actually have the capacity. And again, it goes back to that vibration. Who we surround ourselves with is who we become. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who aren't matching your vibration, they're not inspired by the same things, they're not doing the same work, then you're sending mixed signals. The universe is like, okay, you're going here, but you're staying in this zone. So it's really about not being shy, and not being shy when it comes to breaking up with friends, and not being shy when it comes to asking for new friendships. If you meet someone that you feel connected to, I dare you to be like, will you be my friend? Like, so many people are afraid to ask. And I think a lot of people are also afraid of breakups, but sometimes they're necessary. And there are kind ways to break up with friends. I've done it.
No, I love how you answered that question, because for like, I was asking like, how do you get more? But if you're at capacity, that requires the letting go and the releasing and making space. And I think of that in so many areas besides relationships, but also trying to build a business when you're already hourly at your own capacity, or that you need to create energetic space and room for abundance rather than just this constant craving. And then with that, and at first it was a little hard to hear your answer, not like actually hard, but I was like, wait a second, you need to really get honest with yourself. I can hear other listeners as well, like, no, everything is
Yeah.
like, it's all good. I have my people, and we stay in that comfort zone so often. And yeah, I appreciate that. And then and thinking of it as a breakup. But you could also think of it as like you said, releasing and creating space, but like leaving a job that is toxic or not helpful. So toxic relationships, or relationships that don't fuel and fill you. And even in our press record, we were speaking of the work we do, and that which leaves us feeling, I guess that's how you can approach the selectivity of your community, is, do you leave a conversation with this person? Oh, I'm going back to like even childhood or like teen years, where I would be around a friend and I'd feel worse about myself. And I'm like, why am I friends? Or just leaving super pumped, or even having that, my meeting you story of feeling like seen and heard and safe from like a really brief checking in, from a genuine, like soulful or soul felt connection. And I love that. But to me, I was like, it sounded harsh, like, oh, there are people who drain you, who exhaust you. And that's like what I said, my intention is to be present for this existence. Is that something like I want to be present for, or can I clear some space to draw in more community? I love that. And I love the 6-month or a year container with that monthly check-in. Do you find that the people who participate befriend each other outside of the container?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's wild what happens. Because we also have a group chat. So like when we set goals with each other for the week, because there's also a goal setting element that I like to incorporate, whether it's exercise, eating healthy, like financial goals, business goals, whatever, we'll set goals together. And so we have a group chat where it's really like a team environment, because if my goal is to run 3 days a week, for example, and one day I'm not feeling like getting out there and doing it, what we've had before is like a client will come on and be like, oh, I'm not feeling like doing my third workout this week. And then I'll, for example, get up and go for a workout and say, well, I'm taking a picture of me. This is me going for a workout in support of your goal. So you have to go because I've just gone to support you. And we kind of tease each other and play on that kind of stuff with each other. That creates a really like supportive group. But I also want to speak to earlier when you were saying like you wanting to be present, because this also comes back to when we talk about creating space. This is just something important to mention, is that when we're creating space, it's not just creating space, meaning like we have to let go of the friendships that are no longer serving us to find new ones. The first thing too, part of that is really just creating space to be present with yourself. And it's in asking yourself, like, what do I need? And is this something I can provide for myself? Right? It's also about not just seeking external relationships, but to foster the one that you have with yourself first, because that also will teach you what type of friendships that you're desiring and why. Because you're not alone. If you choose to let go of certain friendships or connections, you will always have yourself. And so what we seek in others is often our areas of opportunity to, oh, I'm seeking love. Okay, well, what am I not doing to show myself love? And how can I be more present with myself and do those things for me too? So it's not only about like being present in who are we surrounding ourselves with, but letting people go who aren't serving us, and then spending time with just ourselves and learning how we can be more of that better person for ourselves as opposed to needing it from others as well.
No, I love that. And it made me think of when I was sharing the things I do for my own personal growth and development. And I shared that I had a 12-hour run experience, and I did 2 podcasts on that. I was going for very much me and me focus. However, it was not a solo experience at all. There's this like phenomenal community of people with whatever that is you need in your brain to want to run for 12 hours. Very special people,
Definitely don't have.
very like-minded people in ways like we look like we all come from different walks of life, which we do, like if you were looking at externals and jobs and age, even ages. But however, we have that thread that binds us. And so it was a huge community experience, even though the longest conversation I probably had was 2 minutes as someone who is like speeding by, like walked for 3 seconds or 2 minutes with me or something. But the whole intention was like self-reflection, going inwards, connecting with nature was a big part of it too, just to be and disconnect with technology. And then it birthed a lot of friendships that were, again, born of 2 minutes of being like-minded and supporting and cheering each other on. So I love how you like extracted that need to turn inwards. And the people that surround us are ultimately, they become mirrors of the energy we're putting out as well. So that's always something, when I talk about like that person in high school who made me feel bad about myself, well, clearly they weren't tell my kids, no one can make you feel anything. Clearly I needed someone to just affirm how badly I probably already felt about myself. So that was just a little add-on after I like heard myself say that out loud. But I really appreciate that the self, that you do always have yourself, and that self-love is integral in connecting and drawing community. So what specific masterminds or mastermind do you have like kind of on your calendar, or are you planning?
I'm going to be launching a few different masterminds in January. So it'll be towards the end of January. I want to launch some business ones that are extremely focused solely on business to help entrepreneurs grow their businesses, provide feedback for each other. And then on the other side of things, I do want to launch another personal, is sort of how I separate professional, personal mastermind, where we speak more about the personal obstacles that we're going through, the personal thought loops that aren't serving us, and show support in overcoming some of our personal goals that we have. So both will be offered. Space is limited because, like I said, I like to keep them intimate. But with that said, I am open to continuing to create spaces so long as there's a need and a desire for it. The amount of, I can't even describe how you feel after one of these sessions. I should have had like some testimonials or something here, because the outcome and the feeling that you get of being surrounded with people who all want to be there, who are all invested in your personal development as well. They want to see you succeed. It's incredible what happens when you surround yourself with people who are truly cheering you on and want the best for you, and are there to celebrate your wins, big or small. So yes, I will be offering some in the new year. People can, if they're interested, people can DM me on Instagram. I'm She Can Consulting on Instagram. They can easily just send me a DM, even with the word mastermind, and that would let me know they're interested, and I can put them on a wait list, and I can send out information to them closer to the new year.
Love it. The way, even just the way your whole self. So for those of you who are listening on the podcast, we're also showing, you can also watch this interview on YouTube, and the way Lauren like leaned in to the camera was so magical. Your entire face like lit up and softened all at once when you were speaking of the like a testimonial of how transformative the experience is. Like your whole body like it shifted with that, and I could feel that profound experience. And also it made me think of in our society and culture, and I tend not to get real soapboxy in general, but there's so much like competition and good enough and fit enough for this, especially with like social media. There's always this comparison trap. and not this like cheering each other on and wanting us to succeed. It's like, oh, she's doing the same. She's a mindset coach too. Like what it, how many likes or follows or, it does tend to get the ego and that competitive. So to hear of a really nurturing, supportive, cheerleading, like, I mean, it's how I feel in my heart. Like if you do well, I do well. Like as a person in this world who needs more good stuff, right? Like if you're a successful mindset coach or you're helping people with, I mean, I share all the time about I love doing like, I love reviewing, like I love reviewing podcasts and giving 5 stars. And I love reposting because yeah, the people who are also serving women who struggle with body image and struggle with their relationship with food, I want them to do well because don't we need a bunch of us out there like helping and supporting each other? So I love that your container is truly like a space for that to uplift and to cheer on, because oh my goodness, the comparison thing, I'm like the quick, there's no room for it in my lifetime. So I love,
One,
thank you for doing that.
oh my gosh, yeah, one of the most profound sessions thinking back that I had was when someone had a secret that they wanted to share, that they were like holding in, that felt like torture. One in particular I know was a client of mine had an STD and got it at a really young age and has felt shame about it ever since. And another one that stands out is another client had an eating disorder. And both of those clients in 2 separate containers had said to me they joined my mastermind because they knew it was a safe place to share, and they just needed to tell somebody that they had an eating disorder, that they had an STD. And it was incredible what came afterwards, because somebody else in that same group was like, yeah, I have that STD. Somebody else in that same group, actually 2 people in that same group of 5. So that's 3 out of 6, including me. There was 3 people that all said, oh, I have an eating disorder too, or I used to have an eating disorder. And immediately those clients felt so seen and so supported that there really isn't any air. And I think that's also a testament to the clients I attract. I really attract the best clients. I know everybody says that. I guess it's also because you have the autonomy to choose who you want to work with as well. And so it's just like, it gets me emotional thinking about that moment for them, because of how powerful it was for them to feel seen and heard and not alone. And there was no comparing, judgment, like that just is so icky. It's just not even close to what we just not what we attract. It's not what happens in these containers at all. You don't even get an air of that kind of energy. It's incredible.
My heart just kind of went to the place of those people, because I was like, oh yeah, more of that. I was like, more of what you just shared. But then my heart went to the people who are in that comparison trap and who are keeping their secrets and their shame. And those are presenting themselves as the better than, or the comparison, or not having deep, genuine connection. So, my heart, I'm grateful that you are holding a space where people have the intention to be vulnerable. And then my heart got sad that usually the people who are on the other side, it's really the other side of the same coin, because we all just want to be seen and we all just want to be heard. And it's why it took me a very long time, especially because I started kind of a new life when I moved here with a child and my health and not active eating disorder behaviors and things like that. And when I came out, I think it was like not that long ago, because I had a new community around me. I was in a different state. No one knew my history and my story. And I saw someone, a friend of mine, share her story. And I felt like responsible to share as well. I felt like, I felt like it wasn't fair to just present me now. And I did maybe it was like I don't even know what it was, a story or something about like the past isn't, like Elsa from Frozen was like, the past is in the past, but it's not. It's actually very much why I serve who I serve and why I'm able to serve who I serve. I don't think I could hold space the same way if I didn't struggle for as much for the length of time. So I felt like it was a responsibility to let people know that that this isn't a shame-filled thing. And so I really appreciate that you shared like the secret telling component of it, or the shameful secret, like things that people, hide in those dark spaces, that know the shadow self, that give that invitation, because once you see someone else do it and you have it, and yeah, being seen and heard and connecting through that struggle. So yeah, I appreciate you for for sharing that and the experiences that some of your clients have had in that container.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Like we kind of talked about it at the top of our call here today, is that growth and healing can be an extremely lonely place. And part of growth and healing is learning to, let go. Nothing heals in shame, right? So if you're feeling shame about something, you're never going to be able to allow it the love and the light and the space to heal. And I think a big part of that can look like sharing. But it also doesn't mean you have to, and that's really important to also mention, right? There's no forcefully like you are here and you must share. There's absolutely none of that. It's really just what feels best for you in these moments with the people in them. And I've actually had one client, I'm from a small town, and I've had one client sign up and then say, oh, I'm curious who else is in this mastermind. Can I know? And when I gave them the list of people, she actually came back and said, you know what, I'm actually not comfortable being in this mastermind, knowing I know this person. And I really want this experience for me to be really authentic and honest. And I won't feel like this is a safe space. So the next time you launch a mastermind, can I be a part of that group instead? And I really respected that, because it really does have to feel good for you. It's not just like because the opportunity is there, it doesn't mean that you should do it. It's always about being present and honoring what feels right for you in these moments. And I think it's important for me to share that that is absolutely honored. That's absolutely encouraged within these masterminds as well.
That's beautiful that someone like was caring for themselves so deeply that they could just step aside and wait. And I meant to say, it's not anyone's responsibility to like come out with all your secrets. I felt called due to who I serve. And I felt like it was like an important part of my service to be of service in that way. But I love that you said no pressure. So I kind of want to surround like what I got on my, like, yes, it's important. Sharing your secrets will free you. But to do so in a container of a mastermind, doesn't have to be in a post, doesn't, and to have that, like to have that space. So yeah, I appreciate that person asking to see the list. So you let people like know who's coming into the container.
Mm-hmm. If they ask,
right.
Yeah, like if it's going to be maybe a more personal mastermind or even business, right? In this case, it was business. They were just working at competing. They were competitors, direct competitors. So she was just not feeling, and that also comes back to that, like the compare or collaborate. I'm a really big, like I like to foster a lot of collaborative work. One of the niches that have sort of chosen me over the years is real estate. So I work with a lot of realtors in helping them grow their businesses. And I've worked with a realtor from every single brokerage that surrounds me. And so it's funny, I have all these little secrets from each brokerage that nobody wants everybody to know. And I've actually just recently launched my first realtor mastermind that I have going. It's active right now. And every single person in it is from a different brokerage. And I did that intentionally. And it's really to foster and show how the power of collaboration can completely supersede competition, and that there's enough abundance to go around for everyone. And that's not just specific to a business industry or a product that you're selling. There's enough to go around. There's, if you live in abundance as opposed to scarcity, there isn't that threat of needing to be competitive, unless it's friendly, of course. And that's always fun for some people if that's what turns their crank.
I love it. So you are of service and you're giving and you're a coach. What do you do? I'll kind of wrap the conversation with this ribbon. What do you do to take care of you, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health and well-being, whilst being in we'll say a profession or business and a business owner? How do you take care of you?
Well, that's a great question. I'm very much a coach that practices what she preaches. So I have a business coach. I have an energy coach that I work with both on a regular basis. I have a really fine-tuned morning routine where I like to get up and have my coffee. I meditate, I journal. Sometimes I'll pull a tarot card depending on my timeline for the morning. Sometimes I'll read a chapter out of a book. But every single morning there's a meditation, there's journaling, and there's coffee to start my day. In terms of movement, I always try to incorporate it. I plan it. If you're having a hard time is like achieving anything you're hoping to achieve or do more of, put it in your schedule. If it's not scheduled, it probably won't get done. So I do a lot of scheduling my own time to fill my cup and to ensure that I have my massage therapist scheduled, and I just really take the time to plan out how I'm going to support myself and how I'm going to make sure I'm getting that time to fill my own cup.
Well, thank you for sharing like your routine and that you do the practice, what you preach with the, I'd say continued education, but the support of having your own coaches in different aspects of your life. So thank you for sharing that. I think that goes like a coach or a teacher that says they have a teacher. To me, that goes a long way.
I agree.
Extremely. Yeah. So I appreciate you that you have that and that you shared that with the listeners. So you mentioned that you're on Instagram, She Can Consulting. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners? Anything specific before we close today?
No, I think the most important message to drive home is to be honest with yourself, to be present with yourself. If you are seeking something, whether it's friendship, connection, or a goal that you're trying to achieve, really just ask yourself if you're living in alignment, if you're moving towards it every single day, and just trust that whatever you need to do for you, regardless of how hard the journey may be, it will always be worth it if you are remaining in integrity for yourself, and to just honor that.
Thank you. I'm taking that away. And it is every like stepping into a space where you like get quiet, remove yourself from the noise and see if you are in alignment or in integrity. And so, yeah, that is my takeaway. I'm gonna have some quiet space afterwards because every time I get the opportunity to interact with you, my brain starts going to different spaces. So I'm really, really grateful for you and for this conversation. I'm grateful for everyone who has tuned in to Peaceful Power Project. And if you are listening on the podcast, do check it out. Lauren has amazing plants in her space. Come to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. All the podcast episodes can be watched there as well. And if you would be so kind as to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify also has an interactive component as well. So just giving any of your takeaways. I know that we would love to hear your takeaways. So in the show notes, I will put Lauren's Instagram and where to find me, and you can tag us and share your takeaways from this episode. And as always, wishing you peace, power, and presence.